Sorry, I think I had my mute on. Hello, everyone. I don't know if you've started nosing the wines, but they're all incredibly different. What I was kind of, I'll wait for it to start for us to do. It's random, mate. We're going to drink our way through the 6. Then we're going to vote for the wine. Maybe try and identify where the Merlots are in terms of dominance, and then maybe vote for our favorite, and then we'll open it up. Did I lose the screen share? What the hell did I do? Let's try it again. Okay. So welcome, everybody. This is the lineup in no particular order for tonight. I've to sort of have to add some semblance of value to it for myself. Personally, I've also asked the guys to not to give me the confirmed lineup. So maybe I can try and add some value to it. I think what's going to be quite interesting. Lost the chat. Oh shit! Hang on a second. Why am I having such problem? I think what we'll do, we'll just start talking. We'll just taste these wines first, then I'll go into the share. What I was trying to do was work out whether we could identify the Merlots. The Merlot dominant versus the Cabernet dominant. You'll see from the screen, you can't really see it. I'm not doing this very well tonight. We do have to go to the share screen. So I won't be able to see the chat. I don't know where Lou is. So He normally handles the chat for me. You'll see that it's kind of evenly split between Merlot dominance and Cabernet dominance. The only wine that stands out in terms of its influence on Sangiovese is the Mazzei. That's the Castello. If anyone wants to say anything, I can't see the chat screen, so please unmute yourselves and say what you feel like saying. But at this stage, I think let's just work our way through the phenolics of all of these. Remember, what you're seeing on the screen is not the representation of the order. Order's all mixed up. The thing that I like the most about number one is it's very finished. Whatever the wine is, it stands out in its core as being something that's completely in place. It's very well blended, whoever put that together. I really quite like that. More of the cedarwood, arrowroot, North African spices, that kind of action on the nose. Less flamboyant, maybe, as in comparison to number two. I'd like to say that number two is probably Cabernet dominant. As opposed to number three, which seems very Merlot dominant. And that's an interesting place to pause, because if I'm right about that, it's quite an interesting way to compare the two styles. For me, Italian Merlot seems to have this wildness about it that definitely differentiates itself from French Merlot. There's an urgency, a sort of energy about Italian Merlot, particularly in the last few vintages, the 18s, the 19s, the 16s, that seems quite easily identifiable. And I'm pretty certain I can pick it up in that, in number three. The nose on four seems a lot more muted. Quite quiet on the palate as well. In some ways, leans towards the style of number one, just in terms of being quite cohesive, but not as noisy. Like number five. There's more than two varietals in number five, pretty sure of it. Yeah, I like number five a lot. And for me, there's that Merlot again in number six. So for me, the ones that stand out as more of a Merlot point of view, 3 and 6. The ones that stand out more of a Cabernet point of view, 5 and maybe 1. Not sure about 2. Stop the screen share so I can see everybody. Any thoughts on favorites from anyone?
Not so fast yet.
Yeah, sorry, I'm moving too
three.
quickly.
Yeah, no problem.
What's interesting, one of the things which I don't normally look for, and I'm getting, is textural. There's a difference texturally in the wines. And I'm wondering if that's aligned to the dominant varietal or whether that's just a question of winemaking. I'm also going to assume that 18 and 19 are relatively similar vintages by style. So I'm going to just start moving my glasses forward and back as the ones. In the tastings, I think that's how the professional dudes do it. They create two lines. One line for the ones you like a little bit more. In theory, I'm not sure, Derek, because, you know, in previous vintages of Galatrona, I've drunk them young. And then the other night I was also with some clients, and I foolishly brought a 6 Galatrona with me as a backup. And it was the first time I'd ever had an older Galatrona. And geez, it was very different. It seemed to knit and evolve in a way that I wasn't expecting it to. So difficult question. I'm not really sure how to answer. The one thing I'll say is the Galatrona will always stick out as being the wine that's the most, is very flamboyant. Definitely in its younger years, it's got, you know, as my mother would call jazz hands. There's a lot going on with the wine. But what's quite extraordinary is sort of in the sort of 10 to 15 year range. It's a very different wine. It's glorious. It's really, really amazing. I mean, having said that, I worked these out. Like these wines went through boot camp today. They were open. They got everything thrown in terms of trying to get some age, some oxygen into the wines. And they're definitely looking better now than they did this morning. They just sort of lost that sort of jittery, nervy component that you often get from current release wines. It's just sort of showing more of an insight into where the wine's heading, where it's moving towards. So we've only got one in this mix that's got Sangiovese in it, and it's the Mazzei, and it's a little bit over 50% Sangiovese. So that might be a useful place to start to see if anyone can identify the Sangiovese in and amongst all these international varietals. So if you're looking for that, the sort of things that I would look for is trying to imagine how a Brunello would look in the context of being blended with an international varietal. So you're looking for that beautiful chestnut, that sort of beautiful nutty component of Montalcino as a counterweight to the richness and the ripeness of the Cabernet or the Merlot. So it might be interesting to see if we can find that amongst it all. And all I can say is there's one wine here that shows more of that nutty component than the others. I don't know if anyone reckons they can identify that. His wines are too good. I'm not spitting anything tonight. Really like number 5. Bugger it, I have no idea which label it is. I've got a strong feeling I know which one's got the Sanjo. The other thing is to see if there's any wines here that remind you of, oh, you're welcome, mate. There's nothing worse than tastings where you finish it and you're still a little thirsty. Some of the lightweights tend to share these pours, but, you know, each to their own. I have to say I was defeated 6 months ago when Vivi Greats did 15 vintages of Testamata. It was a wonderful experience, but I've never felt so nailed. What, did we send you extra Oreno? I don't understand. Oh, okay. I thought we'd sold out of the Oreno, but we discovered 4 cases today. The idea of a 99-pointer wine costing $125, it's insane. Yeah, Eddie, I think I agree with you. I quite like that robustness. There's something a bit irascible about number 5 that I really quite like. And so I'm starting to think that that is probably leaning into the multiple blends. So the Bordeaux-esque, so either Cabernet dominant with some Verdot. And I'm wondering if there's not Petit Verdot, because that's always not much ever goes into these sort of Bordeaux blends, but the impact of Verdot in context is enormous. It really has a big, it's a bit like Viognier and Syrah. Petit Verdot with Cabernet makes such a difference to the end result. Whatever number 5 is, it's going to get points for me in terms of a favored wine. Yeah, I think I'm pretty certain there's either Verdot or Franc in number 5, or a blend of them with a Cabernet or something like that. Anyone want to take a stab at, actually, we'll vote before we start talking about varietals. Is Luigi on the call yet? Our Sangiovese expert. No, he's busy.
Yeah.
Can you pick the Sangiovese?
Oh, my wines are too cold. They've come out of the fridge.
Okay.
I've got to wait.
Okay.
They all, at the moment, they're too cold. Yeah, we're late to the call.
To the party.
I just needed to stay for 5 minutes, let it warm up a little bit.
All right. So, Derek, there's 10% Verdot in the Oreno. You're right, that's a lot. Because if you think about the normal Bordeaux experience, it's about 5%, right? It very seldom goes beyond that. There's a couple of ballsy people that do, the higher percentages of it, but normally it's almost treated like Viognier in Rhone. It's really much a finishing touch instead of a dominant varietal in the thing. Yeah, definitely no more Sanjo in the Oreno. The only wine tonight that's got Sanjo in it is the Mazzei, Concerto di blah, blah, blah. I've got to say, I'm pretty sure which one I like the most. And maybe it's because it's the richest of them for my palate anyway. It's got this glossiness, this squid ink, sort of balsamic kind of thing. and a beautiful softness amongst all that heaviness. So I think I'm pretty sure which one I like more than the others. Number 4 for me is the quietest of all of them. It's the one that's kind of the lesser point of view. Not that that's anything like a bad thing, but that's definitely.
Cool.
Number 1.
So I'm just going to go back to the share screen for a second to remind you guys of the various blends. So the Galatrona is the only one that's the 100% Merlot tonight. Remember we were talking about Verdot. Where's the Verdot? Geez, the Cairossa's got everything in it but the kitchen sink. And I'm wrong, it's got Sangiovese in it as well. So there's 2 wines tonight with Sangiovese in it. So I guess there's going to be, if you look at those components again, probably, in fact, there's 3 wines with Sangiovese. Brancaia's got a little bit as well. So the only purest Bordeaux kind of expression would be Collazzi and Oreno. So maybe that's the place to look for try to identify the Bordeaux expressions.
All right, I'm going to start taking a stab at these.
So Eddie reckons number 6 is dominant in a varietal.
To me, when I think about Petit Verdot, it's always about adding body and tannic structure. And to me,
An intense perfume, like a green pepper, white pepper perfume.
yeah, I tend not to look for that on my nose.
Oh, okay.
You're probably right. I tend to pick it up more on the palate than on the nose.
Right.
And to me, number 5 and 6 stand out in terms of tannic structure relative to the others. And so that's where I would guess.
That's where you put the Verdots?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I'm just guessing. I really have no clue.
I'm quite intrigued by Eddie's comments about number 6 showing 100% of one varietal. Eddie, how do you recognize that as a rule? Is there a purity in the wine that triggers that kind of opinion? I know for me, Bordeaux style, like a Cabernet blend or a Merlot blend, I kind of know how to narrow that down. But I've never looked at it the other way around in terms of single varietal expression.
Maybe, yeah, it's me. Yeah, I feel that it's more of the Merlot in terms of the grapes. It's more thick and yeah, more of the granite, earthy kind of feel to me. Yeah, that's why I guess.
So I guess you're calling number 6 as the Galatrona.
Yeah,
because that's the only one that's the 100%er, right?
Yeah.
I've got to say, I mean, we've done, somebody was asking me today how many tastings we've done in the last 2 years. We've done lots, hundreds. It's seldom that you have this wealth of quality in a lineup. It's amazing. I mean, we're actually just, we're nickel and diming the quality differentials. They're all beautiful wines.
Got a clue. They're all very nice.
I think for me, the The one that probably is that's falling behind the pack is number 4 from a quality point of view, from a not quality point of view, just in terms of a character, in terms of, you know, showing a certain characteristics or a dominant sort of assertion. It's the one that's the quietest of all of them.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you that. It's less.
It's just, you know, there's
It's
actually.
it's less flamboyant.
Yeah, correct.
I wouldn't say it lacks power. It's got plenty.
Not
of
at
power.
all. It's just a little bit sort of maybe reserved. Is not even reserved's the wrong thing. Is even reserved is the wrong word to use.
It doesn't leap out of the glass like that. All the other ones just leap.
Yeah.
They're really perfumed, quite flamboyant. This one's more restrained. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, well, ours is too bloody cold. That's the trouble.
Yeah, I love number 3.
Number 3's doing it for you, is it?
Oh, love it. I think it's the opulence of it. There's like an unctuousness about it that's just awesome. It skirts really closely to almost being over, but it doesn't. It kind of takes it to the precipice and then brings it back. I think it's really beautiful wine.
All right. So I reckon there's Sanjari number 1.
Mate, I'm a huge fan of number 2.
I think it's Sanjari number 2 as well.
Yeah.
I'm not detecting Sangiovese in number 3. Or if it's that, no. So if I was to put my cock in the custard, so to speak, I would pick number 3 as the Merlot.
As the 100% Merlot?
Yeah, that would be my stab in the dark, for want of a better thing. I just think it's Merlot dominant. It could be the Brancaia, 80% Merlot, because it's got a little bit more tannin than I would expect from 100% Merlot, to be fair.
Hang on a second, let me just think about that. Oh, okay.
Right. Merlot tends to be plummier and softer and plusher, right?
So what you're saying is the other components are adding more of a tannic framework
there's
to the
more
blend,
tannin
as a rule.
from a pure Merlot, right?
Okay.
So that could be the Brancaia. Now, Eddie, whose judgment I respect, has thought number 6 is the. Let me go back to number 6. Okay. I think then, I think Eddie's right. I would say number 6 is a mono variety. The tannins are nowhere near as aggressive or as obvious.
Assertive.
Yeah. So that, I think it is a Merlot dominant. So I would pick number 6 as the pure Merlot. Number 3 is the Brancaia, which leaves me with stab. What's number 5? I think the number 4 is the Collazzi, I think.
Lou's showing himself really well tonight, but let me just preface this by saying that he's tasted it all before.
In Verona.
Oh, okay, all right.
In April.
Okay, all right. That's not much of an advantage, true. So sorry I interrupted you. So 4 you think is Collazzi? No, I'm just jealous that you get it. You're such assertive on it.
Well, no, listen, I could be totally out. I'm just trying to do it by elimination here. But yes, I have tried them all before, but in April, I must say.
Yeah.
Number 1 and number 2, I think I've got Sangiovese. Which ones they are, I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you. But they're one of the How many did you say you've got, Sanjo?
There's 3 actually. I didn't get my homework right. There's actually 3 of them
okay.
to vastly different degrees.
Okay, well, let me come back to those. Number 3, I think, is Brancaia. Number 4.
And that's one that's got Sangiovese in it, if it is Brancaia. Brancaia's got a tiny bit of Sangiovese in.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's Merlot dominant. It's very clearly Merlot.
Yeah.
But there's other tannin in there, which I think is Italian Cabernet. So
yeah.
I'm going to go number 3 would be Brancaia, and probably my favourite actually. Number 4, I think, is the Collazzi. Number 5, I'm just working on. I think by default, that makes number 6 the Galatrona in my view, and number 5 would be.
You know, it's interesting because as I worked through it, I was defaulting to number 3 as my favorite. Default. But as I go back time and time again, I really love how number 2, the finish in 2, is something that's just quite complete. And definitely it's not a Merlot. Well, I put money on it not being a massive percentage of Merlot. I think there's more of a Bordeaux-esque echo to number 2.
You reckon it's Merlot dominant?
No, no, I'm not saying it. I comparing number 2 to 3, I think I'm with you on number 3 being Merlot dominant. Yeah, no question about it, right? Okay. I'm not sure. It could number 2 could be Merlot, but more Merlot than anything else. But there's definitely, I think, Cabernet Franc and Verdot in number 2. There's
lots of stuff going on there.
Yeah, right? there's kind of like influences, and it's really rounding the wine off and finishing.
So by virtue of elimination, I can't see behind your.
Oh yeah.
So what do we got? So what's
Brancaia, Caiarossa.
Yeah. What's number 3? What's that one you got there?
That's the Collazzi.
No, I think that's number 4.
No, the lineup there is not an indication of what the wines.
No, okay. I'm just trying to figure out I think the Collazzi is the one in glass number 4, or jar number 4. So this one, there's a Sangiovese dominant one.
Yeah.
Okay, well that by definition or by default, I would make this number 2.
What, the Sangiovese dominant number 2?
Sorry, number 1.
Number 1, okay.
Number 1 to me would be the Sangiovese dominant. Number 2's got Sangiovese in it and other stuff, but so to me it wouldn't be the Oreno. It would be one of the other ones. But it would have to be the Caiarossa, number 2. For me.
Yeah, because you know Caiarossa, it's one of your favourites, right? So you probably drunk more of it than the others.
To be fair, I've drunk older vintages of it. I haven't drunk much of this one at all. And
the one thing that I'm learning tonight about Caiarossa is Alicante. I hadn't considered Alicante as part of a high-scoring Super Tuscan wine before. I don't think I've ever.
Where's that from? Isn't that Spanish?
No, there's a fair bit of Alicante in Spain, in Italy, but I've never seen it in the context of what the kind of wines we're tasting tonight.
I've never seen it before, but it's a Spanish domestic variety, right?
Yeah, it's actually got a whole region named after it.
Oh, and what do they use it for? Just red, or is it white as well?
I've only ever had it as a red. Do you know who uses it as well is our mate Turkey Flat.
The Portuguese use it.
Turkey Flat Rosé has some Alicante.
Yes, it does. Well, these are used to.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I've made my decision then. So Galatrona 6, I think. Number 1 is the Sangiovese dominant one, whatever the hell that one was. Which one was that?
That would make it the Mazzei.
Okay. Number 2 would be the Caiarossa. Number 3, the Brancaia. Number 4 for me is the Collazzi. Number 5 is lovely. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's rapidly becoming my favourite behind number 3. And number 6 I think is Galatrona. But I'm completely wrong.
Number 5.
All right, before we do unveiling, let's vote for favourites. Where's my book? Oh, here we go. Just throw a number down in the chat. Yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite when they're all this good. Seriously, it's an amazing line.
Well, as Derek pointed out, Alicante is
More Portuguese than anything.
Yeah, they make
So, is Alicante the same as Alicante Boucher, which is the big one in Portugal? So Newport and those guys make Alicante Boucher. And I'll look that up actually, because I've had a little bit of that recently, and it's delicious. All right, votes for number 1.
Number 5.
All right, we got a number 3 and a number 5 here from the.
All right.
From Who Must Be Obeyed.
After much toing and froing, I was going to go for 3, but I think now I'm going for 2. I just love it. I like the completeness of it. And that's why I'm voting for. Anything else? Come on, guys, votes. Eddie, what are you going to vote?
Maybe number 6, number 5, and 2.
6, 5, and 2.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, Jesus.
Well done.
Yeah.
I like that.
You got to pick one. You got to pick one.
6. Okay, number 6, maybe.
Number 6. All right. So it's an even score. Chat's going for 5. HK is going for 5. Yeah, 5's delicious. Really is delicious.
Yeah, 5 is good.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
It's
All
a
right.
Choice. Yeah.
Let me pull up the screen. That's the lineup.
Yeah.
Lou, you were very close.
Oh.
You were so close. It's
All
crazy.
right.
I think you should go buy a lottery ticket.
You did well.
That was crazy, crazy good.
I got 2 and 5 round the wrong way.
Yeah, but other than that, you know what's astonishing though is I had no idea of just how many varietals went into that Caiarossa. That's the one with the Sanjo, the Syrah, bloody everything, and not even a.
And they've changed the mix over the years as well. That's why it's no particular advantage if you've drunk the older ones because they had different mixes. At one point, I think it was 100% Merlot.
Really? Jesus.
Yeah. So they've been playing with the mix and frankly just getting it better and better. I think they're kicking ass, these guys. So then the Caiarossa is number 5. No wonder I liked it so much. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but you picked 3.
Yeah, 3 followed by 5.
3 is beautiful, but you know what? At the end of the day, I got down to 2 and 3, and 2 takes it for me because I like the completeness of the wine. There's something slightly less ostentatious about it. It really appeals to me. But Brancaia every time, right? It's incredible. Every vintage, they're amazing.
Yeah, they're on a roll at the moment, that's for sure.
Mm.
They're just releasing the 19. I tried it in April. It's yeah.
What's your opinion, Lou, of 18 and 19? Is there similarity in vintage styles? Is there?
Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed by either.
And then probably a qualitative dip in 20.
Don't know. Have we tried any 20s yet?
No, I haven't. But I thought maybe you might have dipped yourself in the custard.
There were no 20s on display at Vinitaly.
Did you do any barrel samples and stuff?
I did. At Pecorino, I tried some 20 Nebbiolo. I tried some 20 Chateauneuf. That was fine. It was good. Tried 20 Bergs out of barrel. They were good.
Well, my mates, in fact, Derek's a bit of a Berg collector, but my mates were telling me the other day that 18, 19, 20 Berg, 20 is the best for reds anyway.
Okay.
And then there's some kind of a crazy aberration in 17, which as a rule in France is by no means a great vintage, but whites in Berg from 17 are supposedly more than okay. And that's something that I hadn't encountered.
Yeah.
I was at a Ponceau dinner. In fact, it ended up, it was all 17s from Ponceau about a month ago. And the reds were average, but the whites were much, much better than the reds by comparison.
Well, they had didn't they have late hailstorms in 17? Because it was a hot year.
Yeah.
And they had late hailstorms, which is what would have messed up the reds.
Oh, okay. HK, you're a bit of a collector of Burgundy. What's your experience so far? He's on mute. All right, I'm going to get out of this share now. Yeah, don't worry, Chad. I'm exactly the same. I'm hopeless at these things. But I'm glad I picked number 2 as a favorite, because and it's quite interesting because I wouldn't normally follow a suckling rating, but but in this instance, I'm glad I did.
Which one ended up being the number 2? The
Oreno.
Yeah.
Tenuta, Sette, and Oreno.
Merlot. Okay.
Is it more Merlot than Cabernet? I think it is.
50% Merlot, 40% Cab. So
Right. Yeah, I agree, Eddie. In fact, I'm going to get a T-shirt made for blind tastings.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Don't judge me. The Collazzi, I think, is a 96-pointer, right?
yeah,
I think it is.
something 96.
I've got to tell you that the role of Sangiovese in these wines makes an impact, makes a difference. You know, everyone talks about, you know, either you're a traditional winemaker in Tuscany or you're just making international balls. There's actually an argument to be made for combining the influences of all these grapes. I really love what Sangiovese's done to 1, 2, and 3. And in fact, I'd argue that the Brancaia number 3, but for that schnifter of Sangiovese, would be too opulent and too rich. I think the Sangio just brings it back in and finishes it.
When I look for Sangiovese in the blends, it's always, now you were saying that you look for a nutty marker.
Yeah.
I don't. I look for a cherry.
Oh, okay.
I look for a cherry marker.
Like a fresh cherry? Like
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I get it that it can be nutty on the nose.
Mm.
On the palate, I always find it's the cherry aspect. And when you go to number 3, you find there's a freshness in it that's not
Definitely.
quite obvious in the other wines. And
Yeah.
I think that's what Sanjo brings to the party.
Bringing it, yeah.
That little bit of cherry acidity and brightness that
Yeah.
that the Galatrona, for instance, doesn't have, not because it misses it, but it's just different. It's a different animal.
I've got to say that.
Italian Merlot, I'm a.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And then tasting a really old Galatrona, well, relatively old, 15 years old. Holy hell, it's got a different point of view. It's just amazing.
What does it become?
Oh, it kind of rounds out. Like for me, Galatrona is always this forward, almost aggressive kind of thing because and quite sort of avaricious when it's young. But that's because the only Galatrona up until a month ago I'd ever drunk was current release or a year later. I'd never actually had the luxury, and I bought a 06 either off Marketplace or someone gifted it to me. So this was a seriously older wine, and it was amazing. was absolutely amazing.
Well, what does
It
it
just-
get? Broader, or what does it do?
Silky, it gets silky and rounded, and there's a sort of confidence about the wine that's not there in the beginning. When you have a younger wine, it's very forward and sort of nervy and agitated as a style. But when it's older, yowza, really incredible.
Leather armchair stuff, yeah?
Yeah. In fact, I was kind of annoyed because it was a long night, and I was kind of full of piss and wind and the benevolence of too much wine, and I should never have brought it out and opened it. But usually when I do these dinners, I bring something from home just in case we get snowed in. And so I opened it, and it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a bit unfair. This Collazzi amongst this lineup, it's a bit unfair. You've put a sort of middleweight in amongst heavyweights.
Well, middleweight by virtue of ratings or just quality?
Quality. There's a gap. There's clearly a gap. It's a good wine, but it doesn't have the point of view of all the others. All the others are outstanding. Whereas this one, it's a good one. Fine. Wouldn't knock it back if someone served it to it.
Absolutely. Derek wants to see the reveal again. Let's just do that. There you go.
So Mazzei, Oreno, Brancaia, Collazzi, Caiarossa.
Maybe we should talk a little about value, dollar for dollar. Actually, they're all pretty much the same.
They're all
right?
pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
Caiarossa, pretty good.
So we've gone over the last 3 vintages with Caiarossa. We've gone from about 89 to 95 as a price. I think 16 would have been the first vintage we did of it, I think.
No, we had.
We had earlier than that.
Yeah, we had 13. We had 13.
The one thing that's interesting about that wine is I found in the beginning when we first had it, it was quite a slow seller, notwithstanding its ratings and stuff. It took a while to find, and it was so interesting to notice in the back end, people were buying it in year 2 and then buying everything they could get. So obviously it had gone through this phase of evolution. And I think the most recent one I've had is 16. And it's showing a lot more plumminess. Maybe there's more Merlot in the 16. Lots of rich plumminess, whereas this one for me is more finished, even notwithstanding being 2 years younger. There's a definite, the picture is painted as to where the wine's going. I think it's very impressive.
They've definitely brought the percentage of Merlot down.
Okay.
And that in this case has actually done it.
Adjusted. Yeah. So it's got Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Syrah, and Alicante.
Okay. Wow.
So it's definitely not observing any kind of geographical legalities. It's a bit like our Richard Finlayson from South Africa.
Mongrel dog.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Lou, did you get to taste that second tier Petrolo? I didn't get to it before it got sold out, so I haven't looked at it.
I tried it at Verona in April.
And how is it different from the Galatrona?
Oh,
it's different. It's obviously not pure Merlot anymore. It's a
no,
bunch of things.
not even close. Oh God, to tell you the truth, I can't remember. They're different. They're just totally different.
Oh, okay.
It was well made. It was impressive. I bought it on the spot. Yeah.
And there's a third label from them as well, isn't there?
I think so. I really can't remember what I ended up purchasing.
It's got to be said.
Not much that they do that isn't very good.
Yeah. It's
Basically.
got to be said that by judging the levels of wine in each glass, the Caiarossa is the one that I'm drinking the most of.
I haven't got much Galatrona left in my glass, I must say. And I'm holding on to my Brancaia.
Yeah.
Mm,
So a mate texts me from Mumbai last night. What's the yellow label Brancaia? I can't remember off the back of my mind, but
that's the Cabernet number 2.
no, that's a silver one.
No.
I looked at it briefly today. I think we sell it for $39.
Oh, Il Tre, the 3.
What's it? Yeah.
Il
So
Tre.
it's $135 in Mumbai if anyone wants to go shopping.
Right. Il Tre is a Sanjay Cabernet Merlot blend.
Sanjo dominant.
I think it's 53,525, but I'd have to check. It's their house, whatever. Yeah, they haven't been making it that long.
Yeah, it's about 2 years old or something, isn't it?
Very approachable, very approachable. But I think Suckling just had a look at their Cabernet number 2 the other day and gave it 93 points. Not bad for
It's
a 40
not
buck
bad for an inexpensive wine, huh?
40 buck wine. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's really not bad. Go the Oreno. Oh. I mean, if one did the maths, how many other 99 suckling pointers cost 125 sing? There's not a lot. It's a very small club.
I doubt there'd be any French.
God, no.
Maybe Rhone, maybe. Yeah.
I don't even know if it's, even if you took the suckling ratings to the Australian experience, it would be more
it'd be
expensive.
Yeah, 130 plus.
Yeah.
Definitely. As soon as you give something 99 points, it's normally 150 plus.
Yeah.
If it's American, it's 300 plus.
Got to tell you, I'm shocked by the price of wine in Australia these days, domestically made wine. But if you want a high-end Pinot, you're paying $250. A friend of mine had his birthday in Noosa a couple of months ago. So I thought, okay, I'll buy him a 6-pack of really good Chardonnays, because he's a big Chardonnay fan. I nearly had a heart attack when I saw the cost of high-end Chardonnay in Australia. 150, 180, 200, 250. It's amazing, the cost. Admittedly, I've been out of the country a long time, but I was shocked. I was really surprised.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, guys, this is the last of our tastings until end of August. So thank you all so much for joining this. I'll start marketing it in a few weeks' time as we're getting ready to come back into action. Appreciate all the support. Thank you very much. And those of you who've come back, I hope you had a good holiday. That means that your kids are going back to school next week. Those of you who are going away, congratulations, you're going on holiday, and your children are going to be on holiday for another 3 or 4 weeks. It's always a bit crazy this time of year. And whatever happens, we'll have these going on live again from September for sure. Wine exchange, sorry, I've missed all this. Shocked to the price in Bangkok.
Yeah, that's a function of the taxes. Very simple. We did actually we explored looking at going into Thailand and Vietnam a long time ago. But Thailand, it's simple. The tax is 100% of the value. So if you play the game and you play by the rules, people like us would never, ever be able to list wines like this.
To survive, yeah.
So what they do over there, they just basically declare that the value of everything's $1 and hope that the authorities don't shut them down. So